Welcome to Seattle, Washington. Seattle has a large metropolitan area surrounded by water. Because of all the water around here, we Seattleites do all sorts of water activities and sports all year round. Seattle is commonly referred to as the boating capital of the Pacific Northwest. In fact, it's been said that there are more boats per capita here than anywhere else in the entire United States. We do a lot more than just boating around here. We also do canoeing, fishing, kayaking, and whitewater rafting. We do sailing, scuba diving, and all sorts of swimming activities for all ages. We do jet skiing, party barges, and yes, on those rare occasions when the sun does decide to come out, we've even been known to sunbathe on the water. It's become pretty much common knowledge that you need some type of personal protection and flotation devices whenever you're on or near the water. You wouldn't think of going out on a boat without making sure that there was a personal flotation device for every person on board. But have you given nearly as much thought to the dangers of working around water or ice?
Hi, I'm Keith Brossard with U.S. West Communications in Seattle, Washington. We're here on location at Seattle's Fisherman's Terminal, home of the North Pacific Fishing Fleet. Every day, Fisherman's Terminal is alive with fishing crews repairing equipment, mending nets, and readying their vessels for the return trip out to sea. While these ships are in port, they usually order telephone lines to be installed on board. They're essential for placing orders for supplies and equipment and to stay in contact with their home offices. Fisherman's Terminal is a very busy work location. There are all sorts of hazards to avoid, but one of the biggest hazards of all is the fact that you'll be working on the edge of the dock where you could fall into the water and drown. We have a work operation in progress right now, so let's move out to the northwest dock and see some of the precautions we take when we're working around the water. Everything we cover in this video can be found in the Safety Assurance System Safety Reference Book. This is a handy little manual and no truck should be without it. It covers just about any kind of hazard you might encounter in the outside plant environment. If you don't have a copy of this on your truck, you can get one from your supervisor or from your local area safety manager. We're out here on Northwest Dock where customer service technician Gene Urasich is putting a business line in on one of these fishing vessels. Gene tells us that there's a lot of hazards that she encounters working out here on the docks. So let's have a little chat with her and see what kind of problems she's been running into. Hey Gene, how you doing?
Well, hi Keith.
Nice to see you.
Well, I'm ready for a break.
Oh, great.
Well, what can I do for you?
We're doing a safety video on the hazards of working around water, and since you spend a lot of time out here on the docks, we figured you'd be just the person to talk to. What kind of problems do you run into out here?
Well, obviously the water, that's why I wear my flotation vest, because I don't want to take any chances. And then there's also a lot of electrical hazards out here, so I use my 188 tester a lot, especially with the ships coming and going. And also my hard hat, because a lot of times the guys forget that they're in the docks here and not out to sea, and they'll throw a rope over the edge or something else. I've been hit a few times.
Oh, you have?
So that's pretty much everything you would use climbing. You also use out here, plus the flotation vest.
Okay. Well, now I understand you've run into a few other hazards down the dock here, so how about if we walk down there and take a look at some of them?
Okay, well, why don't I meet you down there and I'll finish stringing the line because I'm going that way.
Okay, sounds good. From the looks of that terminal over there, I'd say that when these big ships get to swinging and swaying, they're not very forgiving, are they?
No, not at all. And of course you can see where all the water is right beside our terminal. So whether the sun is shining or whether it's raining, it's always wet out here. And even if it isn't wet, the sun, when we get it, brings all the oil out of the wood, so it still makes it slippery. Wearing tennis shoes is a really ridiculous thing out here. Sturdy shoes are the only thing that you can use along the bull rail there.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. There's a lot of trip hazards, a lot of iron, a lot of clutter out here on the dock. And is this a gangplank?
Well, it is for some people. A lot of the guys on the ships have a tendency to improvise whatever they can use. And that's why you really have to watch what you're doing out here, because even up in the air we've got the cranes and they're either loading or unloading stuff, and so watching your feet is not as healthy as watching up above.
Makes sense to me. When you're working on or around water, if you run into any kind of hazard that you don't recognize or that you're not familiar with, contact your supervisor or your local area safety manager, because they'll have the answers.
Darlene Kalman is a scuba diver. She uses a weight belt to make her sink when she's in the water. Her weight belt is equipped with a quick release buckle. In the event that she should get into trouble under the water, she simply releases the buckle and the weight belt drops to the bottom. Darlene is also a customer service technician for US West Communications in Seattle. She wears a heavy tool belt when she's doing her work. We were surprised to find that her tool belt actually weighed a bit more than her scuba diving weight belt. It's easy to see that should she ever fall into the water, her tool belt would be just as effective at making her sink. Her tool belt, however, doesn't have a quick release buckle, nor is she wearing her breathing apparatus. That's why her personal flotation vest is absolutely essential whenever she's working around the water. Should you ever fall into the water with a tool belt on, get it off as quickly as you can and let it drop to the bottom. Tool belts are a lot easier to replace than people. It's important too to remember that on the water, anything that's not securely tied is going to move as soon as you put your weight on it. Houseboats. Houseboats can be beautiful and picturesque places to work. Unfortunately, they also present a whole different set of safety hazards. Some of these safety hazards are more obvious than others. Of course, you're going to be working near the water, but watch out for slippery dock surfaces, especially when they're wet or icy. There are also lots and lots of tripping hazards around. Telephone equipment and wiring may be difficult to get to. When you do find it, the condition that that equipment's in might surprise you. Due to corrosion and constant movement of houseboats, electrical hazards abound. Frequent use of your 188A voltage tester as well as personal flotation vest are essential. You may need to be a little creative to find ways to safely make attachments to some of these houseboats. Use of a ladder on this one might be a bit difficult. You might even need a boat to run wire in some situations. It's important to constantly be aware of your surroundings when working on houseboats. Don't expect there to always be a railing. One half step backwards and you could end up in the water. We're back on Seattle's waterfront where a placing operation is in progress along the edge of an unguarded stationary dock. All the technicians are wearing serviceable U.S. Coast Guard approved personal flotation vests in keeping with U.S. West Safety Resources guidelines. Even though dock areas have limited access, don't overlook the need for work area protection. Work area protection should always be placed before doing any work.
That's it. Mr. Official. You're just not used to that. Take her down, Lars.
The use of fall arrest equipment may be necessary when working suspended over water. Use of lifelines, boats, hip waders, as well as rafts and barges should only be done when authorized, and then only under the direct supervision of the employee in charge. When special work operations such as bridge decking and catwalks are involved, you should contact your local area safety manager for more specific requirements.
Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay, here it goes. Slide. That should be plenty.
Yeah, that should be enough.
More than enough. It'll circle the box.
Yeah.
Another example of working over water is working near the shoreline or bank of a creek or large body of water that could be considered hazardous because of its depth or current. In this sequence, hip waders and personal flotation vests are used, but only under the direct supervision of the employee in charge. In the event of restoration work after a storm or flood, or in unknown terrain, a lifeline may also be needed. The hip boots must not extend above the crotch, and chest waders must not be used. When riding to a work location in a boat, or when working from a boat, and at all times when working on frozen lakes or rivers, a personal flotation vest must be worn. When performing a work function from a boat, the boat should be secured with lines whenever possible. Remember, a boat should only be used when authorized, and then only under the direct supervision of the employee in charge. An extra measure of stability can be maintained by having one person and steady the boat while the other one works with the cable.
We're back here at Seattle's Fisherman's Terminal to kind of wrap things up. Beside me is Seattle's Fisherman's Memorial, dedicated to the memory of those men and women who have lost their lives at sea. I know it sets kind of a serious tone to things, but it gives us an opportunity to remind you that we made this video so that you would remember to wear your personal flotation devices when you're working around water or ice. Please follow the established safety practices for your area so that you make it home safely tonight to your family and loved ones. So from Seattle, Washington, thank you for watching. Good luck, and please take the time to be safe.
Where should I put it?